This is Bruni and Simba. After 36 league goals in 2 seasons, leading USL Dunkirk from newly promoted to Champions League qualification, we've replaced him with this guy. Just 3 goals in the same time span. This might have been a mistake, but let me explain how I got here in my quest to create the most entertaining team in France. First, let's recap. I took over USL Dunkirk and in Season 1 built our tactic around the flair attribute, earning promotion at the first time of asking. Season 2, with performance data now available, I created Excitement Factor, a new metric combining open play key passes, dribbles and shots, and we secured a mid-table finish in Ligue 1. Season 3 saw the metric expand to cover deeper actions, progressive passes, shots blocked, and key tackles, which helped guide us to an astonishing 4th place finish. So now, with Champions League football ahead, I need to refine Excitement Factor further, then hit the transfer market. So let's get back to Bruni and Simba. As our starting striker, he's doing those things I mentioned earlier, creating chances for his teammates, taking on opponents, and shooting. This is good. He also doesn't know how to look down the line, caught offside time and time again. In fact, he had the 3rd most offsides per 90 in the league, despite us not being particularly possession heavy. This is bad. I mean, it's a trade-off, right? I expect the most entertaining players to also be the most frustrating, but I want to ensure it's balanced. So the next step for Excitement Factor is to include possession lost and offsides. I'm going to start grouping these now. Key passes, dribbles, shots and progressive passes will be combined into an attacking index. Shots blocked and key tackles, a defensive index. And possession lost and offsides will be the frustration index. It's the same process as before, using screenshots to export, converting to a spreadsheet with a free OCR tool, and then tidying up to make it pretty. There's a timestamped link below for instructions, but they are brief. Once this series is complete, I'll put together a full guide on the process. That will be in a couple of weeks. You can always do the subscribe and notification thing if you want a reminder, if you so wish. We end up with a table like this, breaking down the average output by position for Ligue 1. I then measure every player against those averages and apply a weighting based on Opta's league strength rankings. No La Liga this time round. The player values and wages are just too high, but I have included the Italian and Brazilian Serie B, the Bundesliga Zwei, and the Argentine Liga Professional. Each index is standardized to 100 for an average player, and the frustration index is inverted. And this time around, Facundo Medina is the most exciting player in the world.
You must be sure your defender's pure, Facundo Medina.
But I'm not interested in €50 million players. I'm interested in scrubs. So let's see what that means for our squad. As before, Excitement Factor doesn't really work for keepers, so we'll skip over them. In defence, Diomande is the anchor I hoped he would be, making those last-ditch tackles and keeping the ball safe. Mwanga is progressive and creative, whilst Kondo does a little of both, but at the cost of losing possession. Our wingbacks paint a very clear picture, all providing exceptional attacking output, but as the index increases, so does the frustration index, and that plays a significant part in Alec Georgian no longer being our best player. In the pivot, Ben Chama was a star, in no small part down to his progressive passing. Sarosh was signed for his shot blocking, and blocking shots he did, whilst Sekongo was safe on the ball and regularly got into shooting positions. Our playmaking wingers fell a little short. Yassine had a team best 2.7 open play key passes, but as they all played quite centrally, their dribble numbers were low. Up front, Jeremy might have been the backup, but he shone when he got the opportunity. And Simba scored goals, but his overall attacking contribution doesn't necessarily make up for the amount of frustration he causes. Things look pretty good, but you may have noticed there are only 19 players, 3 of which played fewer than 1,000 minutes. We've now got a Champions League campaign to consider, so we need to hit the transfer market. And that means we need to discuss budgets. I'm going to keep this simple. Our balance is currently €32.5 million. This time last year it was 11.8 million. Let's round that up to 12. That's over 20 million profit. 12.75 was prize money. Another 6.5 was net transfer profit, and we spent 8 million on wages. I do not expect us to finish 4th again. I'd consider 10th to be a realistic target. That was where we finished the season prior, and that would mean 7.25 million less in prize money for our projections. Put that all together, and that gives us just shy of 15 million euros to spend on wages for the upcoming season, if we want to break even. If we divide that value by the 52 weeks in the year, that gives us a weekly budget of 280k. Divide that by a 25-man squad, and that's an average of 11k per player. And as a rule of thumb, I cap the maximum to double that, so 22k per week. But what about the transfer budget, I hear you say? Well, the board have given us 13.75 million, and that's more than covered by the big old bank balance. So let's spend it. Starting with centre-backs, Jeffrey Kondo fell short of expectations, so I was shocked that Gengam offered us 2.5 million. Of course, I'm accepting that. Voya, in the last year of his contract, was sold to Vicenza for 170k. Thankfully, this was quite straightforward. Foremost Mendy was awesome, and available on a free transfer at 9.5k per week. Calvin Brackelman would have joined him, but I got scared by his injury proneness, and plumped for Icaresio instead, 2.5 million and 15k per week. Hold up. There's one player that clearly doesn't belong on that shortlist. William Biander was a mistake. I copy and pasted the wrong name, but he does the defensive stuff, and we could do with a 5th choice that doesn't mind not playing. He arrived for what we sold Voya for and on exactly the same wages, 4.5k per week. Things aren't as straightforward with our wingbacks. Let's shift the left backs out the way, they're safe. Nolan Galves isn't. Frustration index through the roof, so he's gone to Burgos for 800k. Georgian wasn't much better, and when Cordoba offered us a club record fee of 5.75 million, I couldn't turn it down. First I wanted Altamira, he's good at everything, but Altamira didn't want us. Then I wanted Everton, but he was waiting until the end of the Brazilian season to consider his options. Terhorst, Castro Montes and Valerie wanted more than I was willing to offer, so we extended a warm welcome to William Mikkel-Brensis, who we signed for 425k and 9.5 grand per week. Definitely our first choice all along, at least that's what I'm telling him. Lasse Rosenboom will join him on a try before you buy kind of deal. We'll be paying him 8k per week on loan with a 600k option to make permanent. In the pivot we look pretty set, or at least we did until Sekongo demanded a new contract as an important player, so he now plays for Met, 3 million euros. That works out kinda nicely because I'm going to shift Bardet into the DM spot. We still need depth, and really there was only one choice here. Matches Rossetto was the only player willing to come in as a fringe option, and so for 180k and 6 grand a week, he's our man. Attacking midfield is our biggest need. Bardet's been shifted to DM, Piringel is not the answer, at least not for us. Westerlo are willing to give him a chance, and us 300k. Daho still can't get minutes, so he's been sold to Mantova for 220k. F.A. Agama was the first through the door, the highest attacking index of any of the options. He cost us 875k and earned 6.5 grand per week. Felipe Cicchetti is likely to be the starter though. His 3 open play key passes per 90 has my attention, so we signed him for 725k and 6 grand a week. We need a left footer. Our options were dominated by defensive contributions, and so I was naturally drawn to Isaias Del Pupo. He's been on our radar before, and at 4.3 million, that makes him our new record signing, 18k per week. Now up front, you already know the fate of Bruni and Simba, sold to Metz for 3.9 million euros. But who is the replacement who doesn't score goals? Well, it's the one player more frustrating than in Simba, Aaron Chanyard Dimchi. He arrives for 1.8 million and 15.5 grand per week. Losing possession or being offside is not an issue in itself, it's the lack of attacking index to make up for it. Aaron Chan creates, dribbles and shoots. Now I've been deliberate in leaving goals out of the calculation. I'm confident that if a player gets into shooting positions, we can create good enough chances, even Darwin Núñez would score. Now that's a busy summer, 11 million spent on 10 new arrivals, yet we've still turned a profit. 16.5 million raised from the 8 departures. Our wage spend is now up to 270 grand per week, pretty much in line with our target. Our squad depth looks something a little like this: at least 2 players in every position except centre back. If we have an injury crisis here, I'll switch to a back 4. Last season we had a couple of youth players in and around the squad who have all been sent out on loan to get regular football. Mohamed Kamara went to Rouen, where he broke his leg. Whilst at Keverly Rouen, Pierre Wanji just didn't get any game time. So that could have gone better. Tactically, nothing's changed. A 3-4-3 with almost everyone roaming from position. Almost everyone dribbling more. And almost everyone taking more risks. Team instructions encourage possession and creativity. Out of possession, an aggressive counter-press that drops into a mid-block. Right, that's the admin out the way. Let's see how we got on. We opened at home against Angers, where Chiquetti was keen to make an impression on his debut. But it was the OGs who left their mark. Yassine stole in, played a 1-2, then fired high to give us the lead, before Enzo Bardet pounced on a rebound to make it 2-0. Aaron Chan, also making his debut, poked in a third early in the second half, before Calamity Charles gifted Angers a consolation. A midweek draw against Strasbourg was followed by our first big test of the season, Marseille at the Velodrome, a test we utterly flunked as Solanke opened the scoring. Icaresio, proud of his initial header, stood by as Højbjerg seized on his indecision, before Mathis Nunes made it 3-0 before half-time. Kylian Kaiboué scored the goal of the game, and Enzo Bardet added a second at the death, but too little too late. Back home and back to winning ways against Metz. Against Guingamp, it was the Aaron Chan show. First an imperious header as the keeper flapped. Then came the solo moment, picking the ball up in his own half, skinning his man on the flank, before driving into the box. An extra touch, a fine finish into the far corner. My favourite goal, however, was the last. Del Pupo intercepting, then evading pressure twice. Sami Benchama sends it long for Aaron Chan to chase. A left-footed finish, a perfect hat-trick. He was at it again against Toulouse, a brace as we ran out 5-1 winners. Next up, our debut in the Champions League. I should probably say something inspirational about where heroes are made or something. No pressure, lads. We started on the front foot. Mikkel Brensis's cross thumped against the bar by Jeremy, with Del Pupo on hand to get the rebound. Chipete had a chance to equalise but grazed the bar. We made him pay just moments later. Bardet finding Del Pupo for his second. Vigo had chances, Ngonga just wide, Swedberg denied by Charles, and we held on for victory. We were having a moment. A 94th minute winner against Lorient, followed by demolitions of Young Boys and RC Lens, put us in third before the 3-week international break. We brushed aside Sochaux on return to action, but fell to Ajorque's late winner for Brest. We then welcomed Real Madrid to the Marcel Tribune. Hashem had a chance early, narrowly wide, before Vinicius fired over after a nice run, and Mbappe just missed the target. 0-0 at half-time, but not for much longer. Vinny doing what Vinny does. That was somewhat expected, which can't be said of Mikkel Brensis's solo equaliser. Parity was short-lived, Vinny once more. Back to Ligue 1 and back to winning ways. 2-0 against AS Monaco, 3-1 at Saint-Etienne. A tough game at the Estadio de Luz followed. Pavlidis set Sudakov through for the opener, before receiving from Moreira to make it 2-0. We didn't wilt. Aaron Chan pulled one back almost immediately. Then moments before half-time, quick interplay on the edge of the area set Bardet free. We couldn't hold on. A beautiful ball over the top, Durdov with the tap-in. Bardet scored once again as we rescued a point against Lyon. A goalless draw with Napoli and 1-1 against Rennes made it 4 without a win. Next up, our nemesis Lille, and a familiar feeling as Jordan James scored the opener. But things are different now. We have Del Pupo. We have Chiquetti. and Lille have Mathias Fernandez Pardo. There was still time though, and Bardet netted a late equaliser. Our winless streak showed little sign of ending. A heavy defeat against Nice preceded a more spirited but equally fruitless loss to Arsenal. Our final league game before the winter break was at home to PSG. Keith Schmidt's ambitious effort was high, William Pacho's header equally so. The best chance fell to F.A. Agama, but his effort slammed back off the post. 0-0, a great result. We finally ended our run with a comfortable Coup de France victory over Concarneau. At the winter break we were in 4th, ahead of Metz on goal difference and Lille by a single point. The mid-season reset was much needed, not least because our schedule for January was a darn sight nicer. Liga, Coupe de France and Champions League meant the calendar was crowded, but that caused us little concern. We beat Angers 6-3 before making our way past the 10th round of the Coupe de France for the first time in this save. Panathinaikos visited the Marcel Tribut and left with their spirits absolutely shattered as we put 5 past them. That was for power. A Bardet free kick earned us a draw against Metz, and then we rounded out our Champions League campaign at home against Malmo. If I thought the Panathinaikos result was good, this was better. A 6-0 demolition. It didn't stop there. Guingamp were next in the Dunkirk penitentiary. An Erenchan hat-trick, a Del Pupo penalty. Mathias Rossetto scored our final goal of the month as we were dumped out of the cup by Monaco. 7 games, 25 goals for. February started with an Erenchan brace against Toulouse and Lorient, sandwiching a first leg defeat in the UCL playoffs to Real Sociedad. But the second leg was at home and we just needed to overturn a 1-goal deficit. Make that a 2-goal deficit. Okay, now it's 4-1, we're probably out. But still, time for a deflected consolation. The league was now our sole focus and our comfort. A 2-0 win over RC Lens, a comeback against Strasbourg, and an absolute demolition of Sochaux put us in good stead. Next, the chance for revenge against Brest. Del Pupo's deft flick gave us the opener. Hashem set him up once more to make it 2-0, before a glorious Fernandez free kick halved the deficit. Then it was Jeremy's moment. 6 straight wins in the league meant just one thing, a guaranteed defeat to Monaco. We bounced back against Strasbourg before a trip to Lyon. A dull first half exploded into life after the break. Erenchan opened the scoring, then just 5 minutes later Ernest Nurama equalised. Another 5 minutes passed, another Erenchan goal. This time the lead lasted just 3 minutes. Estevez with the finish. A slight lull until Kelly's shot deflected into Fofana's path in the 85th minute, then in injury time Nurama wrapped up the win 4-2. The run-in was tough. A 2-1 win over Rennes, an entirely unsurprising defeat to Lille. We threw it away against Nice before Paris Saint-Germain truly humbled us. With 1 game remaining we were still 4th, still separated from Metz on goal difference alone. We host Marseille, they visit champions-elect PSG. Barely 20 seconds had passed when Doué switched play to Barcola. He skipped inside to give PSG the lead. At the Marcel Tribut, Del Pupo intercepted on the halfway line in the 16th minute. He drove forward, held it up, then decided to go it alone. We were, of course, pegged back almost immediately by a beautiful passing move. Back in Paris, a goal-mouth scramble ended with Dembele making it 2-0, and with that 4th place was pretty much secured. Even more so when Erenchan restored our lead. Again, not for long, this time a wonderfully choreographed set-piece routine. But we want to end on a high. Yassine scored our first goal of the campaign, fitting he should score the last. What a season, back-to-back Champions League qualification. We picked up 2 fewer points but scored 12 more goals, all whilst not embarrassing ourselves in the Champions League. Erenchan was the league's top scorer by quite some margin, 37 goals in all competitions. Del Pupo finished with 25 goal contributions. Yassine topped the assist charts, and Rosenboom wasn't far behind. Agama was perhaps the only disappointment. I expected him to feature more, but he never really got going. This was meant to be a dumb idea, focus on entertainment rather than output, but I might be onto something. Of course, I need to review and refine excitement factor ahead of next season, the finale. See you then. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving a like or maybe even subscribing. And if you want to support the channel further, you can join these wonderful folk currently adorning your screen, either as a YouTube member or patron. Details in the description below.